So I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but sometimes other people can be a little bit annoying. I mean, most of the time people are wonderful, but there are times when people are just annoying. So I thought I would create an English lesson for you where I teach you 8 different phrases we use to talk about how annoying people behave. The first phrase I want to teach you is the phrase to nitpick. When you nitpick, it means you complain about little things that aren't actually important. Here's a good example. Let's imagine there's a husband and wife, and the husband likes the car parked in exactly one spot. By the way, this is not a lesson about Jen and I. This is an imaginary couple. And let's say when the wife parks the car, sometimes she parks it slightly in the wrong spot. This is not an important detail. This is not an important thing. But if the husband constantly says to her, you parked the car slightly in the wrong spot again, this would be nitpicking. Let's reverse it. Let's imagine that the husband, after brushing his teeth, always leaves the toothbrush on the counter instead of putting it into the little cup. The wife might then say, hey, can you please put the toothbrush in the cup? It's not an important thing. And so in those cases, in both situations, we would say the one person has decided to nitpick the other person. They've decided to complain about something that's not important. Again, this is not a lesson based on Jen and myself. This is just an example, an imaginary example. Jen and I always park the cars in exactly the right spot, and we always put our toothbrushes away, I promise. Anyways, let's look at a few more phrases that you can use to talk about annoying people. The second phrase I wanted to teach you is to be on someone's case. When you are on someone's case, it means you are pressuring them or trying to push them to do something. A good example for this would be if a parent thinks their child should apply for a certain job. Let's say there's a parent and they have an adult child, someone in their 20s, and the parent thinks they should apply for a job at the car factory. If that parent constantly says, did you apply for that job yet? Have you applied for that job yet? I really think you should apply for that job. We would say that parent is getting on their case. That parent is on their kid's case. It's not a nice feeling when parents do this. We try not to do this with our own children, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult because you want the best for your child. So if someone is on someone's case, it means they're pressuring them, reminding them, talking about something a lot because they think that person should do it. This next phrase is a phrase that we only use when talking about the workplace, and it's the phrase to micromanage. If you have a manager or a supervisor or a boss, and they are constantly telling you how to do every single part of your job instead of trusting you to do it well, we would say that they have decided to micromanage you. It's not nice to have someone micromanage you. It's nice when they give you a job or a project and then trust you to do it, and maybe check in every once in a while. But if your boss says, I need you to do this project today, I want you to do it in this order, do it number 1, then number 2, then number 3, I'm going to check in on you after every step and give you suggestions on how to do it better, we would then say that that boss has decided to micromanage you. Not a nice feeling. I only enjoy working for bosses that don't micromanage. When someone tries to micromanage me, I find it very, very annoying. The next phrase is the phrase to split hairs. When you split hairs, it means you argue about small details that aren't really that important. Here would be a good example. Let's say at work, they told you that you needed to sell $10,000 worth of product during a 4-week period. And let's say you sold $9,998 worth of product. If your boss or manager was like, well, you didn't meet the target, that would be splitting hairs because you were almost there. You basically did it. You were over 99% of the way there. So when you split hairs, it means you look at small little details and you make them seem important when they really aren't. The next phrase is the phrase to harp on someone. When you harp on someone, it means you complain about the same thing over and over and over again. Now, I hope my mom isn't watching this English lesson because this example is actually true. When I was a teenager, when I was in high school, my mom would harp on me and tell me to do my homework every day and sometimes multiple times a day. This is a pretty common thing for parents to do. They often harp on their children to do their homework. Again, this is because they want the best for their kid. They actually want their kid to do really well in school. I try not to harp on my kids about homework, but I mean, if you do your homework, you get better grades. If you get better grades, you might get a better job. So When you harp on someone, it means you complain about the same thing over and over again. The next phrase is the phrase to look over someone's shoulder. Now I know how to use my camera, but imagine there's a person standing here looking over my shoulder, telling me how I could do things better, how I could do things differently. That person would be looking over my shoulder. So we use this to actually describe a person physically standing there, like your boss might be looking over your shoulder as you do something at work. But we also use it to describe a situation where someone is monitoring what you're doing a lot. So at work, you could say, oh, my boss just constantly is looking over my shoulder. It doesn't necessarily mean your boss is standing there. It could simply mean your boss constantly emails you and comes and checks on you to make sure you're doing something right. So the phrase to look over someone's shoulder, it means one person is supervising what someone else is doing, or someone is looking over the shoulder telling a person how to do something differently or how to do it better. This next phrase is very similar to the phrase to harp on someone, and it's to hound someone. When someone hounds someone else, it means they keep pressuring them or bothering them to do something. Another great example would be parents with their children. Let's say you need to apply to go to university. You're a teenager and your parents are pressuring you. They're hounding you to choose the same university that they went to. So that would mean you would come home from school and every day they would say, did you apply to the University of Toronto yet? Did you fill out the application? In that situation, we would say the parents have decided to hound their child. They're harping on their child every day. They're hounding their child to fill out the application to go to the same university that they went to. The last phrase I want to teach you is the phrase to pick something apart. When you pick something apart, it means you look at something and find all the errors and mistakes in it, and then you mention it to the person who made it. This actually happens sometimes with my English lessons. In the comments, sometimes someone will pick apart my video. They'll say at the 3-minute mark, you mispronounced this word, or I think you explained this wrong. It doesn't happen a lot, but it happens every once in a while. And I actually don't mind when people pick apart the things I've done. I don't find that too annoying. If they do it all the time, it gets a little bit annoying. But when you pick something apart, it means you look at something and you find all the little errors and all the little mistakes. Well, thank you so much for watching this video about annoying things people do. It ended up mostly being about bosses and parents, didn't it? Most of my examples. So maybe those are the people that I find the most annoying. I don't know. My mom's not really annoying at all, but maybe when I was a teenager, a little bit. Anyways, thanks for watching. If this is your first time here, don't forget to click that red subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. I love to read them. Please do consider becoming a member by clicking the join or subscribe plus button. There are a lot of perks and benefits for members of this channel. Anyways, thanks again for watching. I'll see you next week with another English lesson. Bye.